Chelsea Football Club's ownership are within a civil war. They need to sort this out. According to Matt Law's latest article, Todd Boehly has got the new investors that are willing to buy out Clearlake Capital and tell them thank you very much, but it's time for you to leave Chelsea. I'm going to tell you within this video what are the three main reasons Todd Boehly wants to buy out Clearlake, how he's got his new investors, and more importantly, do Clearlake even want to sell? This video is going to be very informative. There's going to be a lot of detail and you're going to leave it understanding what is happening at Chelsea and the ownership dynamic within the football club. So it's a matter of you now sitting back, relaxing and listening eagerly, and let's get started. But before we get started, what's the first thing you do when you come home? You wash your hands, because it's just a ritual. You have to do it. So when you watch the Kavkas View, what do? You make sure you hit that like button, and we get up to 1.5 thousand of likes for this video. So can you help me out with that? It's a great way of pushing the content out so other people get to see it and YouTube realizes this is actually a decent video. So let's get started. And if you're new, subscribe. It's the best way to keep up with the up-to-date news. Let's go. So before we get started, you need to understand the dynamic at Chelsea Football Club at the moment. Chelsea were purchased after Roman Abramovich sold the club by 4 individuals. Number one is a gentleman called Walter. The other person is called Vice. And the third person is called Todd Boehly. Each one of them have got a 13.3% share of the pie, right? Meaning roughly 60% is left. Who owns that? It's an investment company from California in the US called Clearlake Capital. Head of that company that is in charge of Chelsea is Boehly and Feliciano. So now that you've got all the characters in play, you're going to get to understand what's going on. There are 3 main drivers to why Todd Boehly wants to buy out Clearlake Capital. And the 3 main factors, according to Matt Law and his article, are as follows. Sorry, it's according to Bloomberg, not Matt Law. Bloomberg and their article. Number 1, recruitment. Recruitment is a key factor. Todd Boehly believes in a different recruitment method than the one that has been implemented at Chelsea at this moment in time. If you remember, in the beginning, we saw Raheem Sterling, Koulibaly, Cucurella, Wesley Fofana all come in at the very outset. Bigger wages, different structure, more of a traditional view on how football should be conducted, right? You pay the bigger wages, you get the experienced players, you build around it with young players, and then you go on for success. However, as time went on, sporting directors came in, the transition to younger players with resale value occurred. We went really crazy with young, cheap players and trying to flip them on for a profit. We got Enzo Fernandez, which was expensive, however went for Mudryk, then we went for Lavia, Caicedo, and then a bunch of Angelos, Santoses, Washingtons, Casades, like just unreal amount of signing. However, in the recent time, this last window, we've transitioned slowly back into experience. Felix, Sancho, Neto, Toussaint, and more importantly, Kieran Dewsbury-Hall. No one would have thought those would be Chelsea signings at the start of the window, which tells you the recruitment policy is going in a U-shape, right? It's 1 minute up, 1 minute down, 1 minute up, 1 minute down. It's hard to understand, which makes me understand that recruitment is clearly an issue. Who's driving it? Is it Todd Boehly, who's the face of the project, or is it Boehly and Clearlake? We don't know. Number 2, performances. This one really confuses me because whilst instability in the boardroom filters down to the team, I don't think we've been that unstable to the point where we can blame either party for it. For example, we finished 12th because there was a lot of changes in the team. Last year, Pochettino had unreal number of injuries. Pochettino dropped the ball with the players and we finished 6th. We finished the season well. However, they made a good decision in my opinion. Enzo Maresca is the way forward. We've got a style of play. In my opinion, we've improved to last season. I'm seeing it with my eyes. So I feel like this one is literally just finger pointing. They think that performances on the pitch are a massive factor and the instability in the boardroom is filtering down. And the final one is the building of the stadium. And this, I believe, when we initially got this ownership group, what did I say? And for those of you that don't know what I said, you can go back and watch my videos, but I'll tell you what I said. And you can go reaffirm it. I wanted the Saudis in for one reason. Not because I believed, oh, the Saudis are going to spend money. No, I wanted one entity in. I wanted an owner. I did not want multiple entities in because when you own shares of things, you're less willing to have control. And in this case, with the stadium, how do we know why the stadium's not working? Because Todd Boehly most probably has his own opinion. Iqbali most probably and Clearlake have their own opinion. Vice and Volta we never hear about. But they're most probably worried, listen, I've got my money in here too. So I kind of want to know what's happening as well. So this is a huge mess. But those three reasons are being touted as the reasons why the club is in such turmoil. Now we need to get into the factors of what Matt Law is releasing and how exclusive information this is. Number one, he believes Todd Boehly wants to tear relationships with Clearlake Capital due to the fact that he believes there's a civil war occurring. Both parties want to buy each other out. Neither parties wants to sell. Let me explain what that means. It means Clearlake, who owns 60% or just over, said, we're not selling. We don't want to sell. Todd Boehly says, I'm not selling. I only buy. So all of a sudden, we have got a problem here. And what has happened with this whole situation is Blueco at this moment in time is a makeup of 4 individuals. And if no one wants to sell, what are we talking about here? But this is where it gets interesting. Todd Boehly has got new investors and he's willing to buy out Clearlake. He is willing to offer them 2.5 billion according to Matt Law, which is a substantial profit on their initial investment, and he wants them to go. However, Clearlake have publicly said they're here for 10 years. So there is 7 years left before they can leave. And for me, this is where it gets very interesting. Because if there's 7 years left on what they believe they initially came in for, they must think the club would be worth more than the 2.5 billion they're going to get back. Yes, they bought the club for 2.5 billion with initial investment of X, Y, and Z. However, if they're going to make just 2.5 billion for themselves, are they going to want to leave the club so early? Like, why would they leave now if they can wait 6 years? How much more is the club going to be worth? What if there's a Super League? Like, genuinely, there's so many questions that you can ask. What is the benefit for Clearlake Capital leaving? Boehly apparently wants to be at the club for the next 2 to 3 decades. He wants to develop the club. He wants to be here for the long term, build a stadium, make Chelsea a powerhouse, and then in 20, 30 years, sell the club on. This is a PR side story from both entities. This is going to be a disgusting war where we're going to get information from the left and information from the right, and we're going to have to believe what we believe and what is told to us, because neither one of us has sat down with Iqbali and Clearlake, nor sat down with Todd Boehly and understands their manifestos, understands what they view to be Chelsea Football Club. None of them are even Chelsea fans. You can't convince me that. This is money-making opportunities for them. Always remember this, right? These are billionaires. They have egos and they want to make money. They don't care about the football club the way we do. And this is where it gets interesting, right? Todd Boehly, Vice and Walter own nearly 1.5 billion of the club. They're not interested in selling. And Clearlake, who said, we will buy you out, then they're not going to budge. And this is where we come to a predicament, because I'm going to have to summarize this situation. How do you get billionaires to sell when they don't want to sell? You pay them more money. But what is enough money? What is the money that is going to be justifiably pushing an individual to the point where, okay, cool, I'll go. Is it double your money? Is it triple your money? And more importantly, when you're working with one billionaire, it makes sense. But when you're working with a hedge fund, it's another thing, because all of a sudden they've got more than a couple of billion. They've got more than 10 billion. This is a hedge fund. Hedge funds got tremendous amounts of money where they cannot be bullied. They cannot be pressured into selling anything, because once they have their long-term forecast, they want to meet it. Selling something in 2.5 years when you originally assumed that you're going to be here for 10 does not make good planning sense. Yes, they would have made a profit, but in their head, they would have made way more of a profit of Chelsea than making the additional billion that they made in 2.5 years. So this is where it gets sticky. And now, the biggest one of all, egos. Guys, forget money. Because in reality, what do all these billionaires have in common? Egos. Why does Todd Boehly want to get the club? I'm telling you, he wants to be in control. Todd Boehly wants to be the face of the project like he was initially, and he doesn't want the stick. No matter what happens, his reputation at the moment is getting tarnished. It's always Todd Boehly's Chelsea. Todd Boehly's Chelsea's losing. Todd Boehly's Chelsea's being embarrassing. He owns 13% of the club, and yet he's taking all the blame because he's the face of the project. So I am not surprised. I am not shocked that this gentleman believes he needs to regain control of this club. Otherwise, he wants to go. But the funny thing is, he doesn't want to sell. So it is such a messy situation. I don't know where we're going to go with this, because this is going to be dragged out. This is going to be long. This is going to be public. Sky Sports are going to get a hold of this. BBC Sports are going to get a hold of this. This is going to be dragged out. You're going to hear TalkSport talk about it, Simon Jordan, Jim White. It's going to be messy. All I know is, and this is what I'm going to leave you with, Todd Boehly must have the money. He must have found the investors to make this so public, because this is evidently coming from his camp. And the reason I say this is because Matt Law's article is very complimentary of the Todd Boehly group. Everything is coming from a perspective that makes Todd Boehly's camp look good. Meaning, if he is actively feeding this information to Matt Law as a source, or his camp is, it means they've got the money to try and make this move happen. It is going to be complicated. It is going to be messy. I will be covering it, and I need you lot to try to be patient, not to get angry, not to go too high, not to go too low. The most important thing is performances on the pitch. And as soon as our football is back, then we can start talking about the football. But at this moment in time, this is massive news. And it's news that we can't ignore. So what I need from you guys is to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. And if you guys want an update on Cole Palmer being excluded from the European squad and being nominated for a Ballon d'Or, here's a video for you guys to go watch. This was the Kavkas View. Peace out. I'm out. Keep flying the blue flag. And just realistically, this is our Chelsea. This is why we love it, right? It's always a dramatic mess.